Hello, this is Josh from Monastery Dropouts. Thank you for joining me today. Today I want to talk about current events, which we don't do very often, but because there's so much going on and there's a rise of fascism in the United States, and now mass police are starting to shoot citizens. They've already been ripping apart families, and kids have been coming home from school and their parents aren't there. And so I thought it was an important time to talk about how we work with these situations and how we work with the leadership and the people um, from a spiritual perspective. And these things have been happening throughout history. And on a day to day basis, we work with people like this, people who are, if you think about Trump and a lot of the people who are in his administration, these people are sad people in a way. They're very weak people, and they're very injured people. And on that level, we can have compassion for them. These people, most of these people, the way that they end up the way they are is that they are verbally, emotionally, and sometimes physically abused as children. And in order to protect themselves as children, they have to form a narcissistic persona, and they get to the point where they are incapable uh, on this in this lifetime of having compassion for others and having empathy for others. And so they seek to gather like hungry ghosts that will never be satisfied. They want to gather and gather and gather and gather things for themselves, and they need to feel power over other people, and they don't mind hurting other people because they've lost so much of a sense of self, and they've built this structure around themselves to protect themselves. And these things worked as children when they were being punished and abused as children. It worked for them to protect them, and so on that level it makes sense. But this is no excuse as an adult. Adults don't get to have an excuse that bad things happen to them as a kids, and so they get to do whatever they want to other people. And so I think it's important to have the perspective that these are fragile, weak people, and that's why they are always lashing out, and they're always trying to gain power, and they're always blaming others for things that they have done. Any bad thing that happens, they blame someone else because they can't take any responsibility. And these are defense mechanisms that children do, children that are very hurt. And so, they may be 50, 60, 70, 80 years old, but they're very injured children. And so, how do you work with that? How do you work with that? In the old days, when societies had a hard time having compassion, and in darker ages, you just had to go to war. You had to go to physical war and physical violence. Because you had to meet violence with violence. You couldn't just sit back and be killed. Like, you can't just have whole populations being killed. Luckily, we're in an age where the vibrations of our planet and the consciousness of our planet has gone up enough that we can take stances as a groups that are nonviolent. And so we can maintain a sense of spirituality, and we can keep our inner center and our inner peace, and we can work with groups, and we can organize. And because these leaders fear the population, if we work together and we band together peacefully, we can work with that on that level. And so I think it's important to recognize that these people are vortexes of darkness. They're just ignorant people. And you can call them evil in a sense, but do it in a non-judgmental way. It's evil in the sense that they're just so injured and ignorant that they're acting in the way that they think is real. But on the ultimate levels, it's not real, and it's just going to cause them more suffering in the long term. So it's not wise either. But because they have so much fear and ignorance within them, they spread that everywhere. And if someone stands up to them, they will try to create more and more fear and chaos because that's what they know. And the important things for us growing on a spiritual level is that we don't want to fall into that. We don't want to go into the dark sides. We don't want to have those tapes and the anger and the fear, and we don't want us to fall into ignorance. We don't want to injure ourselves because they're so poisonous in what they say and do. So it's important to start, if you have thoughts or emotions, it's important to start by centering yourself and to find that silent self. Find the watcher who is expanded and can observe the world around them from within inside themselves. Find your small body within yourself so you can see, oh, that person's reacting to this situation. So on that level, we can respond to the world politically. We can protest things like that, but we don't have to do those things. It's important just to keep that center and keep that spiritual vibration high. If that's what you want to do, then do it. If you feel like you need to take action, then join groups and take action. So part of that process is that we need to let go of judgment. And so when you speak of these leaders who are doing ignorant things, there will be more leaders throughout time, and you may encounter more people like this throughout your life. I've had bosses that are like this. And so the important thing is to not judge them and to recognize that they are where they are at spiritually. And at some point they will grow into a divine presence as well. And in those higher states of consciousness, they are divine. They hold divine energy within them. And so there's no point in judging them. And the judgment that you send towards them will return to you. It becomes a part of you, and it's reflected within you. You are light, they are light. And this is a drama that's happening on the earth. Please join me, please join Monastery Dropouts, and please join all of us in maintaining that higher consciousness and keep expanded and love all people and always tell the truth. That's the important thing. And we'll just keep moving to that higher place in consciousness. And the whole world is shifting towards that. And that's why some people are having a really hard time right now, because the energy of the earth is shifting to a higher consciousness, and they're not in that consciousness, and it's very, very uncomfortable for them. So they're fighting and clinging to stay into that lower consciousness, and they're not going to be able to do it. The tide is coming in, the light is coming in, and that old consciousness, that dark consciousness, that earthly consciousness is fading away. So we don't need to worry. It's gonna be okay. There's so many people whose consciousnesses are expanding, who are feeling more peace and more love. And this group is part of that. You are part of that. So thank you for joining me today at Monastery Dropouts. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Thank you.